In modern Hollywood, where stars rise and fall at an incredible speed, there is one king whose throne seems unshakable. His name is Pedro Pascal. His face is that of the weary defender from The Last of Us. His voice is that of the mysterious warrior from The Mandalorian. He is an internet favorite, the hero of countless memes, and the holder of the unofficial title of Chief Papa of the entire network. It seems like he has always been there. But this resounding success, which came to him after the age of 40, was neither sudden nor easy. Behind the image of a slightly tired but immensely charming hero lies almost 40 years of a difficult life. The story of a refugee, decades of work on the theater stage, and a series of episodic roles where he was just the guy for one episode. His path to the top is not a Hollywood Cinderella story, but an endurance marathon that he ran almost single-handedly for 2 decades. So who is he really? This man whose face the world has come to know and love so late in life. What secrets does his biography hold? Shaped by political persecution, family tragedies, and an unyielding belief in his calling. And why did he, with his unconventional appearance and sad eyes, become the main character of our time? Our investigation begins. To understand who Pedro Pascal is, we need to go back to the very beginning, to a story that reads more like a political thriller than the biography of a Hollywood star. His story begins not in California, but in Santiago, Chile, and his birth name is José Pedro Balmaceda Pascal. The year is 1973. Chile is in chaos. As a result of a military coup led by General Augusto Pinochet, the democratically elected socialist president Salvador Allende is overthrown. The family of little Pedro, who was not yet a year old, found themselves on the other side of the barricades. His parents, child psychologist Veronica Pascal and reproductive doctor José Balmaceda, were staunch supporters of Allende. Moreover, they were actively involved in the resistance movement, helping the wounded and hiding those hunted by the new regime in their home. When it became clear that staying in the country was deadly dangerous, his mother was the cousin of one of the resistance leaders. The family took a desperate step. Climbing over a wall, they found refuge in the Venezuelan embassy in Santiago. 6 months later, they managed to leave the country. Their first stop was Denmark, and then the family settled permanently in the United States, first in San Antonio, Texas, and later in California. This experience, being the son of refugees, exiles, became the foundation of the future actor's personality. He grew up with a dual identity. He was American, but with deep Chilean roots and a family history of fighting for justice. From childhood, he saw what injustice was and what it meant to lose everything. This experience instilled in him incredible empathy, a deep devotion to his family, which was his only constant in a changing world, and a resilience that he would soon need. He did not yet know that his main battle for a place in the sun in Hollywood was still ahead of him. After receiving his acting education at the prestigious Tisch School of the Arts at New York University, Pedro Pascal was full of hope. He moved to New York, the epicenter of theater life, and threw himself into his work. But Hollywood was in no hurry to open its doors to him. Thus began his long, nearly 20-year marathon for survival, in which he was one of thousands of runners, but by no means the leader of the race. The facts of his early biography are the resume of a typical working actor who is constantly in the shadows. He was a chameleon actor, appearing in 1 or 2 episodes of the cult series of his time, but remaining almost invisible. If you watch crime and fantasy dramas from the late 90s and 2000s, you're sure to find him. A short but memorable role as a novice vampire in Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Episodes in countless versions of Law & Order, CSI, The Good Wife, Homeland. He was everywhere and nowhere at the same time, a reliable professional who was invited to play his small role and then disappear. These were years of financial instability and constant struggle. Pascal recalled that there were times when he could barely pay for his apartment and was almost in despair. He saw his friends and classmates, like Sarah Paulson, get big roles and become stars, while he continued to go to auditions to get another role as a nameless detective number 2. It was during this difficult period, in 2000, that a tragedy occurred that changed him forever. His mother, Veronica, committed suicide. Devastated, Pedro made a decision that became a tribute to her memory. He changed his professional surname from his father's, Balmaceda, to his mother's, Pascal. He explained this not only as a desire to honor her, but also for pragmatic reasons. American casting directors found it difficult to pronounce Balmaceda. He was on the verge of giving up everything. Decades of hard work had not brought visible results. But he continued to work, honing his skills in theater and television. He did not yet know that his greatest weakness, his atypical, mature appearance, would soon become his greatest asset. The world simply needed to catch up with him. By 2013, Game of Thrones was not just a TV show, but a global cultural phenomenon. Getting a role in it was like winning the Hollywood lottery. And it was in the 4th season of this giant that 40-year-old Pedro Pascal finally got his lucky ticket. The role was Oberyn Martell, Prince of Dorne, nicknamed the Red Viper. As the now legendary story goes, he got the role almost by accident. Hearing about the casting, he asked his longtime friend, actress Sarah Paulson, to pass on a recording of his audition to Amanda Peet, the wife of one of the series' creators, David Benioff. The audition was hastily recorded on an iPhone and, according to Benioff himself, was of rather poor quality. But through the poor picture and sound, an incredible magnetic charisma shone through. Pascal did not play Oberyn, he was Oberyn. His character was a breath of fresh air in the harsh and gloomy world of Westeros. Oberyn was intelligent, dangerous, sexually liberated, sarcastic, and moved with the grace of a panther. He came to King's Landing with one goal in mind: to avenge the brutal murder of his sister Aaliyah. Pascal brought all his southern passion, theatrical experience, and natural charm to the role. Viewers fell in love with him instantly. He appeared in only 7 episodes, but his performance was a dazzling flash. The climax was his duel with Gregor the Mountain Clegane, one of the most shocking and brilliantly staged scenes in television history. His graceful dance with a spear against the brute force of the giant, his furious cries, "You raped her, you killed her, you killed her children." All of this was a masterful performance, and his tragic death, when he let his guard down for a moment and was brutally killed, was a real shock to millions. In an instant, Pedro Pascal ceased to be a nameless extra. He became the Red Snake, a hero mourned by the whole world. His brief but brilliant appearance in Game of Thrones did what 20 years of work could not. It opened all doors for him. Hollywood finally noticed him, and the next roles were not long in coming. After his stunning success in Game of Thrones, where his charisma and expressive face became his trademark, Pedro Pascal's next step seemed illogical and even risky. He agreed to take on the lead role in the first series of the Star Wars universe, The Mandalorian, where his character, bounty hunter Din Djarin, almost never takes off his helmet. For any actor whose face is their main tool, this was a unique acting challenge. How do you create a deep, relatable character when the audience can't see you? Pascal handled it brilliantly, proving that he is much more than just a charming face. His work in The Mandalorian is a masterclass in minimalism. Deprived of the ability to use facial expressions, he relied on two other tools: his voice and body language. His voice became the face of the character. Under his deafening helmet, he manages to convey the subtlest shades of emotion: fatigue, irritation, doubt, and most importantly, the tenderness toward his little companion Grogu, Baby Yoda, that breaks through his armor. Every phrase, every pause, and every change in intonation is filled with meaning. The legendary phrase, "Such is the way," sounds like an unbreakable oath or bitter doubt when he says it. The second element is his physicality. The way Mando moves, holds his weapon, and most importantly, reacts to Grogu tells a whole story. A slight tilt of his helmet becomes a gesture of deep thoughtfulness or sorrow. The way his shoulders tense up shows his readiness for battle, and the way he gently and carefully touches the little creature shows his evolution from an indifferent hunter to a loving, adoptive father. Thanks to his talent, the character in the steel mask has become one of the most human and beloved heroes of modern Star Wars. And the rare scenes where he does take off his helmet have a tremendous emotional impact precisely because they are so long-awaited and well-deserved. The Mandalorian not only cemented Pascal's star status, but also proved that his acting range is much broader than anyone could have imagined. He has become an icon while remaining an enigma. If Game of Thrones made him famous and The Mandalorian made him an icon, then The Last of Us turned Pedro Pascal into one of the greatest dramatic actors of his generation. The role of Joel Miller, a smuggler surviving in a post-apocalyptic world, became the pinnacle of his acting skills and a synthesis of all his previous experience. The project was fraught with enormous risk. The adaptation of one of the most beloved and acclaimed video games in history meant colossal expectations from fans. Many doubted whether Pascal could embody the image of Joel, a man broken by the loss of his daughter and turned into a cruel, ruthless survivor. But he didn't just cope. He exceeded all expectations. In this role, Pascal was finally able to use his entire arsenal. While in The Mandalorian, he was a voice and a silhouette, here his main tool was his face. His eyes, which reflected decades of pain, fatigue, and suppressed grief, told the story better than any words could. He gave a masterclass in restrained acting, where the strongest emotions were conveyed through a barely noticeable tremor of the lips or a long, heavy gaze. The role of Joel was a logical development of his image as a reluctant father. But if Din Djarin was a fairy tale knight, Joel is an extremely realistic, traumatized man. Pascal brilliantly portrayed his transformation, from complete emotional alienation to the painful rebirth of his ability to love through his attachment to his companion Ellie. The chemistry between Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey became the heart of the series, making their on-screen relationship one of the most touching and convincing in television history. Pascal was not afraid to show the moral ambiguity of his character. His Joel is no knight in shining armor. He is capable of monstrous cruelty for the sake of survival, and ultimately of a selfish act in the name of love. And it is thanks to Pascal's performance that viewers, even if they disagreed with his final choice, understood his motives. The Last of Us became a global hit, received rave reviews from critics, and cemented Pedro Pascal's status as a top-tier superstar capable of carrying the most complex drama on his shoulders alone. Pedro Pascal's remarkable success is more than just the sum of his roles. The key to his popularity lies beyond the film set, in his personal life and the values he has never hidden. And here, his biography, which began with his escape from Chile, comes to the fore once again. The foundation of his personality is his family. Growing up in exile, he learned from childhood that family is the only real support. This devotion is particularly evident in his relationship with his sister, Lux Pascal, who is a transgender woman. In a world where coming out can still be difficult, Pedro has become her most important, vocal, and loyal ally. He speaks publicly about her with great love and pride, emphasizing that she is one of the strongest people he knows. This unconditional support, which comes from the heart and not from a PR calculation, has shown the world his true values, empathy, and acceptance. His political stance is a direct consequence of his past. As the son of political refugees, he consistently advocates for the rights of immigrants and minorities. His support for the LGBTQ+ community is not a tribute to fashion, but a deeply personal story connected to his sister. In his case, activism looks completely organic and honest. It is this combination of on-screen images and personal qualities that has given rise to the cultural phenomenon known as Internet's Daddy. This title is not so much about age as it is about a sense of reliability. His characters, Mando and Joel, are protectors who are willing to go to any lengths for those they care about. And in real life, he demonstrates the same devotion to his family and his principles. In the eyes of the public, he has become the embodiment of non-toxic masculinity, strong but sensitive, taciturn but ready for action, serious but with a great sense of humor and self-irony, which is how he treats his internet status. Ultimately, the secret of his charm lies in his authenticity. Viewers feel that there is no wall between Pedro Pascal, the actor, and Pedro Pascal, the person. He seems to be exactly who he is. A good guy who has been through a lot, waited a long time for his moment, and having received it, has not forgotten what is really important. The story of Pedro Pascal is not just a success story. It is a story about how a quiet marathon runner who ran his distance in the shadows for decades overtook all the sprinters at the finish line. His path to the top of Hollywood is unique, and the phenomenon itself says more about our times than meets the eye. So why has he become the main character right now? First, he is the embodiment of well-deserved, hard-earned success. In an era of instant fame and one-hit wonders, his career reminds us of the value of perseverance and dedication to one's craft. He did not achieve fame by birthright or thanks to a viral video. He earned it through 20 years of unnoticed work, and that commands enormous respect. Second, he embodies a new type of hero. His characters are not glossy supermen with perfect smiles. They are tired, traumatized, imperfect men whose main strength lies not in their muscles, but in their capacity for empathy and self-sacrifice. Joel and Dean Jarin are protectors, not conquerors. And in a complex, anxious world, it is precisely this type of hero that is most in demand. One who will protect, not destroy. Finally, his personal image perfectly matched his on-screen persona. In an era when public figures often disappoint, Pascal offered the world an image that was impossible to doubt. His kindness, support for his family, sincerity, and self-irony created an effect of complete trust. We believed in his heroes because we believed in him. The Pedro Pascal phenomenon is a story about how true strength lies in humanity, about how you can achieve anything without betraying yourself or your loved ones, and about how sometimes the world needs not a young and daring prince, but a mature, slightly sad, but infinitely reliable king. And Pedro Pascal rightfully took that throne. Thank you for watching until the end. If you liked it, please like, subscribe, and don't forget to click the bell so you don't miss new videos. There are even more amazing stories ahead. Take care of yourself and your loved ones.